Tulsi Gabbard is no joke. This woman means business, and she's out purging left and right. I mean, there was a big purge of like hundreds just not too long ago. And now the DNI chief she actually took away the security clearance, which in some cases results in firing, because if you don't have your security clearances, then you can't actually do the job, especially in the case of one particular Russia analyst. She took away the security clearances of 37 people. I think Kamala was included in that. And here's the story. It's not getting a lot of play, other than for people to say, of course, she's a fascist and this, that, and the other. But this was what it was. This is the story that came out in the Wall Street Journal the other night. Gabbard fired top CIA Russia expert days after Alaska summit. The CIA officer was due to take up a prestigious assignment in Europe approved by CIA Director John Radcliffe, and instead her security clearance was revoked. And not only was it revoked, but Tulsi kind of came out and told everybody who she was, and so then it became, oh my gosh, and now it's this like, ooh, the CIA versus the DNI, and everybody's getting all worried about it. Look, I'm just going to tell you this about Tulsi Gabbard. She went through a lot. Don't forget, this is the woman that she herself was accused of being a Russian spy, none other than by Hillary Clinton. I mean, she used to be a Democrat. Think of that. She used to be a Democrat. She's a member of our military. Can you imagine? I mean, what a heinous thing for them to say. But Hillary sensed the competition. Hillary didn't want any competition. Hillary decided to move in for the kill. And that meant, let's just say what works. Tulsi's a Russian spy. And so she went with that. And I don't think it sat so well with Tulsi. And now Tulsi's in charge. And now Tulsi's revealing everything.
There is irrefutable evidence that detail how President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence community assessment that they knew was false. They knew it would promote this contrived narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help President Trump win, selling it to the American people as though it were true. It wasn't. The report that we released today shows in great detail how they carried this out.
Yeah. So it wasn't true. It was, let's call it Obamagate, right? He brings everybody into his office for this big meeting after Donald Trump wins the election. And he gives everybody strict instructions to make this the top priority, even though they had plenty of evidence that that wasn't true. So why would they do that? To undermine Donald Trump. To undermine Donald, I guess he couldn't get over the fact that, for goodness sakes, Hillary Clinton, his hand-picked successor, did not win. And so then the answer became, let's do this. I mean, don't forget, this is what they did over and over again. I mean, you had Hillary Clinton on The View, for goodness sake, saying the Russians stole the election. I remember this. What about you?
There is no denying that the Russians interfered in the election. Right. Whether or not they had willing or unwitting help from the Trump team, they interfered. And they did so to help him and hurt me. And they did so to destabilize our democracy. And they have not stopped. I mean, there's been enough public testimony before Congress now by very distinguished, experienced intelligence professionals who all say the same thing. This is a clear and present danger to our country. Yeah. And I think it's important, and I would say this. If the roles were reversed, if I had won the Electoral College and I were in the White House and the intelligence services, I've served with them, I've worked with them, I've read their analysis, both on the Senate Armed Services Committee and as Secretary of State. They don't always get it right, but these are patriotic, hardworking, dedicated men and women. And if they had come to me and told me, we believe that this election was interfered with, we believe that it was influenced, and we believe they are still trying to get into our systems, I would have stopped at nothing. I would have stood up and in front of the country said, even if it advantaged me, I am not going to rest until we know exactly what happened and make sure it never happened.
Yeah, right. Okay, so that was all part of this, the sting op. Tulsi revealed quite a few things in her massive declassification. This is separate from the 37 people that lost their security clearances. I just want to remind you of this, given that we just looked at Hillary Clinton on The View. Apparently, on page 17 of this declassified information, what we learned was that the Russians actually had a ton of dirt on Hillary Clinton, including internal claims among Democrats that Hillary Clinton was on, quote, heavy tranquilizers and suffering intensified psycho-emotional problems. There was evidence of severe health ailments like type 2 diabetes and heart disease. There were internal DNC communications that Obama and others found Hillary's health extraordinarily alarming. And there was evidence of secret messages with religious leaders where she was like basically offering increases in funding from the State Department in return for their support. I mean, you even had European leaders that were not very enthusiastic about this idea that she might become president because they had seen her as Secretary of State. What I find just amazing is this idea that she was on these heavy tranquilizers, suffering intensified psycho-emotional problems, and yet that actually never really came out. And I would only say this, like, hey, if the Russians really wanted to take down Hillary Clinton, you'd think it would have come out, right? No, that didn't. So, you know, it didn't seem to me as though they really had a total preference. I think they liked, you know, being, you know what, disturbers. Hey, you know, why not like have America fighting and turning on each other and sure, whatever. Like it was kind of neither here nor there who won, but they enjoyed us getting into this crazy fight. And guess what? Obama did the dirty work for Putin. Heck, like that's what happened. So now Tulsi's coming around and she's trying to clean up the joint. And now we get Tulsi purging the top Russian op. Okay, so the person who was about to go to Europe for her big gig, she's like the Russian expert. She had prepared Donald Trump and apparently everybody else going into the Alaska meeting. Lost her clearance, lost the clearance. And I'm not you know, the identity's out there and plenty of people have revealed that and talked about that. Apparently this particular person was rather public in her I shouldn't, because I'm revealing too much, right? But rather public in acknowledging that there was work being done for the CIA, because apparently in certain online bios, for speeches, it was all out there. Maybe we didn't know that this person was the tippy top one. So now it's out there. Tulsi declassified it, okay? And so people are saying, what's happening between her and Ratcliffe? So once she wouldn't allow this person to have any more access to intelligence, once that was revoked, this person can no longer work for the CIA. And the CIA was just about to promote this person. So now, if you read, this is an article in NBC News, and of course they're loving this. This is the palace intrigue and the drama and this, that, and the other. And this is Radcliffe versus Tulsi. You know, they're saying, wait a second, why didn't she consult with Radcliffe? I think the bottom line here is, and I'm just going to go with my gut instinct, which tends to be right. If you know that somebody is part, and this is what she is alleging, if you know that somebody is part of a scheme to try to delegitimize the president, as Tulsi is suggesting this person was part of with Obama and his entire team, then my thought is, yes, you probably do not want them working in the administration, in the here and now. That is Jonathan Mason. Thank you for the generosity. Great to see so many people here, by the way. Somebody familiar. Good to see you. Peace of my mind. Unc Andy, David, of course. We're kind of, you know, in a special show because it's Labor Day. But Cat Crazy as well. I'm just saying, if you find out that somebody was trying to take your boss down and was part of that, like, wouldn't you want to get rid of them? I think the answer to that is yes, but I'll ask you guys. I'll ask you, I mean, would you fire this person if you knew that they had a hand in Obamagate? I think that's perfectly reasonable. She's saying, look, individuals who have violated the trust placed in them by weaponizing, politicizing, manipulating, or leaking classified intelligence are no longer allowed to do so. Period. End of story. So Tulsi means business. She is no joke. She's in charge right now, and poor John Brennan doesn't quite know what to do with himself. I mean, John Brennan's looking at this and he's like, wait a second. I mean, think about all those people. It's really actually quite disgusting what they did. There's no other way to phrase that one. I mean, it's disgusting what they did. That I'll never get over that darn 51X Spooks letter and the Hunter Biden laptop. I will never, ever get over that because it was such a blatant lie. And what it proved to me was everything I didn't want to think about our government. I mean, look, I'm sorry. I'm still a little Pollyanna in a way, like small town girl from New Hampshire who likes to think that, you know what, people are actually doing things for the right reasons. And then when I saw that, and I knew that they were lying through their teeth, that's when I said, gosh, you know what? We got a corrupt system here. And that actually has to change because you can't live with that level of corruption. And I would just say that Mr. John Brennan, he was one of the biggest, and I mean biggest, perpetrators of all of this. And so he has no excuse whatsoever. Right now, he's all freaking out. He's going on MSNBC over the weekend saying, oh my God, they're making my life tough because now, oh my gosh, you know how much money I have to pay in legal fees? Do you know how much, they're costing me in terms of my reputation? Well, buddy, I'm sorry. Didn't you do this to yourself? Like, did you need to sign on? Did you need to be part of the 51X Spooks thing? I don't think you needed to sign that letter. I think you are completely responsible for yourself. And I'm so darn sick of these stupid Democrats never willing to own up and take responsibility for their own actions. It's symbolic, is it not, in many ways? Mr. John Brennan, in the flesh, crying his eyes out on MSNBC.
If we can't convict someone, we will name them and shame them. And that seems to be largely what's guiding them here, no?
That seems to be the intention, which is to damage individuals. You can damage them reputationally, you can damage them financially, professionally, and so on. And so by putting out these investigations or making these referrals or whatever, it does a lot of damage already, even if it never goes to trial or it doesn't go to a conviction or whatever. And that's the intent. And unfortunately, Donald Trump, who, President of the United States, has tremendous authority and ability to use the instruments of governance. When I was watching that cabinet meeting this week, it was absolutely nauseating that all these individuals who are fawning over him but are so willing to be manipulated and be exploited by him. And you're talking about the Attorney General of the United States, the Department of Justice, that is supposed to be the institution that's going to represent the laws and liberties and freedoms of this country to make sure that they are going to be protected. And so, again, it's very unfortunate that Donald Trump has been able to do this, much different than in his first term, because in his first term he had people who were willing to push back. This time he does not.
People like what? Brennan? Saying things like this. Who was pushing back in the first? Oh, I know. It was Bolton. Bolton, who it turns out had a whole bunch of problems going on. So this is brand new, guys. Okay, so you got this whole thing going down right now in the CIA versus DNI. I think that Tulsi's going to win this round. And you know what? John Radcliffe, if he's smart, he's like, Tulsi, thank you for revealing this because we don't need this. John Brennan, in the meantime, eat your heart out because I'm sorry, you made your bed, you're going to lie in it. I guess this is part of the problem with, when you go after someone as maliciously as you went after Donald Trump, you're actually going to pay the price in the long run. But John Bolton was already being investigated. Did you guys know that? This is new, developing. We have now found out that John Bolton was already under investigation. And this is important because, they're saying, oh, it's targeted. It's just because, they don't like him. In fact, the NBC reporter did an interview with Vance and the vice president. She's like, isn't this just personal? Isn't this his vendetta? And Vance is trying to explain, no, actually, this is a real investigation. Watch.
I do want to start with some breaking news. We've learned that the FBI is searching the home of former Ambassador John Bolton, his office as well.
Sure.
Can you tell me, why is the FBI raiding Ambassador Bolton's home and office? And did the White House get a heads up?
Well, so we're in the very early stages of an ongoing investigation into John Bolton. I will say we're going to let that investigation proceed. What I can tell you is that unlike the Biden DOJ and the Biden FBI, our law enforcement agencies are going to be driven by law and not by politics. And so if we think that Ambassador Bolton has committed a crime, of course, eventually prosecutions will come. But as you know, Kristen, this is all part of gathering evidence, trying to understand something that we're worried about. And of course, I'll let the FBI comment on the next stage of the investigation.
What's at the root of this? Is this about classified documents?
Well, again, I'll let the FBI speak to that. Classified documents are certainly part of it, but I think that there's a broad concern about Ambassador Bolton. They're going to look into it. And like I said, if there's no crime here, we're not going to prosecute it. If there is a crime here, of course, Ambassador Bolton will get his day in court. That's how it should be. But again, our focus here is on, did he break the law? Did he commit crimes against the American people? If so, then he deserves to be prosecuted.
As we have this conversation, has Ambassador Bolton been detained, taken into custody, arrested in any form?
So this news just broke this morning, and the FBI, I haven't talked to the FBI this morning. I don't know the answer to that question. I assume that he hasn't been detained and won't be detained until there's a prosecution, if that actually happens.
As you know, Ambassador Bolton is a frequent critic of President Trump's. He's also on Kash Patel's enemies list. The administration has already revoked his security clearance, Secret Service protection. Is Ambassador Bolton being targeted because he's a critic of President Trump?
No, not at all. And in fact, if we were trying to do that, we would just throw out prosecutions willy-nilly like the Biden administration DOJ did, prosecutions that later got thrown out in court. If we bring a case, and of course we haven't done that yet, the Department of Justice has not done that yet. We are investigating Ambassador Bolton, but if they ultimately bring a case, it will be because they determine that he has broken the law. We're going to be careful about that. We're going to be deliberate about that because we don't think that we should throw people, even if they disagree with us politically, maybe especially if they disagree with us politically. You shouldn't throw people willy-nilly in prison. You should let the law drive these determinations, and that's what we're doing.
You know,
but so what's amazing, though, is that the reporter has such a hard time grasping that, because you see the sort of story du jour is that this is all payback. It's nothing but payback, payback, payback. And look, I don't think that there's any love lost. Let me just be really clear, between John Bolton and Donald Trump. I mean, John Bolton was kind of an odd pick in that, you know, he really is. He's never met a war he doesn't want to go and engage in. I don't know. I don't get it. You've heard me say this before. I've actually fought with him on the air. We both used to work at Fox together. He was a frequent contributor on my program. And I'm like, I'd rather lose dollars than lives. And I remember him once saying to me, yeah, you tell Jamie Dimon that, the CEO of JP Morgan, see what he thinks. And I'm like, well, who the heck cares what Jamie Dimon thinks, right? Like, Jamie Dimon's not running the country. It's the president that's running the country. And I'd rather lose dollars than lives. I don't think that we should be, that shouldn't be the first like go-to move. Like, why wouldn't you use every financial instrument available to you before you actually start sending troops? So this is a personal sort of philosophical difference that I always had with Bolton. And I think that Donald Trump quickly realized this too. And then when he was gone, he was like, yeah, he's gone. And then he tried to publish his book because he's taking all these ridiculous notes. He did publish the book. The judge eventually said, oh yeah, you can publish the book. And it was like 500 pages of torture. The New York Times panned it. They said it was rambling. It actually seemed unhinged, quote, unhinged was their word, not mine, New York Times, when they were talking about Bolton's book, and that he really did kind of have just this need and desire to always want to go to war. He seemed disappointed when the president would say things like, no, that's too many bodies. That's too many. Even when you're talking about the Middle East, he did not want to lose lives, period. And I know him well enough that I can tell you that is true to his character. And I know Bolton well enough that that's true to his character. Let's watch the president. This is from, well, we're going back in time now, to 2020, June 2020, when Bolton had been fired and was trying to publish his book.
All he wanted to do is drop bombs on everybody. He was one of the many people that got us into the war in the Middle East, which was a big mistake. I said to him, let me ask you, do you think, recently, I said, what did you think? He said, I think we made the right decision. I said, you lost me there. It was the worst decision in the history of our country. I know you may disagree with that. Worst? Well, now you might agree. At the time, you would have, felt differently. But also, the Libyan model, you know what that means, right? Look it up. One of the dumbest things ever said, I think it was said on Deface the Nation, the Libyan model. He said the Libyan model, that was set us back. You have no idea. John Bolton was a stupid guy, and he was a guy with no heart. And he also had a statement that he would lie whenever he had to. He has that statement. It's a well-known statement. And I fired him. And I didn't think it was a big deal. And I wasn't around him very much. But what he did do is he took classified information and he published it during a presidency. It's not, it's one thing to write a book after, during. And I believe that he's a criminal. And I believe, frankly, he should go to jail for that.
Judge?
Yeah. So he wanted him to go to jail for publishing that information. Well, here's the kicker. It turns out that this wasn't like some kind of vendetta. It turns out, newly discovered, reported actually by the New York Times, John Bolton was already under investigation by Joe Biden. Check that out. John Bolton inquiry eyes emails obtained by foreign government. And it's not clear what foreign government, I'm guessing Iran, but it could be China. We'll find out and soon enough. Apparently, he was writing these private emails. I have a suspicion it was probably to his book agent and maybe his book editor who didn't have a very secure email system. And John Bolton, being kind of mad scientist that he is like firing off emails. I don't know this for sure. I'm just guessing how this might actually transpire. But it turns out he was being investigated by Biden. What do you know? Biden, breaking news, Biden was investigating. Biden was investigating. I'm putting this on the screen for everybody to see. John Bolton, okay? So this is not like vendetta time as much as the NBC News anchor wants to make it that way and others in the mainstream media. No, this is like, hey, you got an issue. According to the story, John Bolton began to pick up momentum. This investigation into Bolton began to pick up momentum during the Biden administration, ladies and gentlemen, dun, 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 when U.S. intelligence officials collected information that appeared to show he had mishandled classified information. Oh, you think so? So this investigation was ongoing. It just so happens that the raid happened under Donald Trump. And so because there was a raid that happened under Donald Trump, everybody wants to jump on him immediately. I had to listen to Andy McCabe and Brennan and everybody else. Oh, this is a vendetta. No, guys. And you want to know better, right? Because weren't you part of the club? Didn't you used to have security clearance? Didn't you know that John Bolton maybe was in a little bit of trouble? The United States gathered data from an adversarial country spy service. It reads, including emails with sensitive information that Mr. Bolton, while still working in the first Trump administration, appeared to have sent to people close to him on an unclassified system. Wow. So John Bolton is out there firing away on emails, classified information, sending it around. What? Because he's working on his book while he's there? Yeah, apparently he was a meticulous note taker, took thousands of pages of notes every time he was in a meeting. I mean, and he kind of was a little sloppy, let's just be honest. Remember that time that he was doing the Colombia thing or rather, it was in Venezuela. There was some kind of press conference going on. The president came out and spoke, and there was John Bolton with his little notebook, and it said 10,000 troops or whatever it said to Colombia. This is because they were, in John Bolton's eyes, going to take over Venezuela, which, by the way, I'm going to just tell you here and now, I was very close to that story, and I knew a lot of players on all sides, and the president as well. They were never going to send troops into Venezuela. That was like wishful thinking in John Bolton's little head, right? So then everybody freaked out. They saw the troops it was to freak out over nothing because we weren't actually sending troops there. I mean, maybe John Bolton was fantasizing about that. Well, those searches have raised fresh questions about the extent to which Mr. Trump may be using the Justice Department and FBI to try to punish those he dislikes. The searches, meaning the raids. The new details, dun-dun-dun, the case, says the New York Times, present a more complex chain of events. So that's how they want to describe it. It's more complex. Because it turns out it's actually not that complex. He was already under investigation. The investigation is continuing. You can't actually be emailing, Hillary, you listening? Classified information to every Tom, Dick, and Harry. Every book agent that happens to look your way. Money hungry or what? I'm just saying this is not good if this is what it is. We don't know that it's a book agent. Could have been a television producer. Who the heck knows? But whatever he was doing, somehow foreign spies intercepted the emails. It was classified material. And boy, Johnny, you're in trouble right now. So Vance was right. It's not personal. It's just you. It's just you. Boy, oh boy. Some good news coming out of Texas and Missouri that I want to turn to. But first, 76 Research, have you guys subscribed? Please tell me you've subscribed. You get time right now. It's Labor Day. Hopefully you're not working. Go to 76research.com. Use code word $. This is my company. I started with a dear friend, 76 Portfolios. You can see all of our portfolios there, American Resilience, Inflation Protection, as well as Income Builders, seeing a lot of upside. We have about 10 to 15 stocks in each one of these, and we do believe in this MAGA economic movement. I think more good stuff is about to happen. So be part of it, okay? And if you can't do the portfolios, for $1 a month, first 2 months, and it goes to $9.95. Just get the newsletter, okay? Because we got lots of ideas. Someone sent a thank you note the other day because one of the picks was up over 80% in the newsletter. I mean, you just want to be part of this in any way, shape, or form that you can. You want to be part of this growing economy.